What's up, Lowrider family? Welcome back to another episode on Lolos and More. Now today would be the start of a new series on the channel. I said about a month ago, and more along that I was going to start doing something new. I'm going to start it off with me first. It's more like a interview type deal covering rides of the Northwest, you know, people that don't get much recognition that probably should out here. So for those that live out here in Oregon, Washington, wherever I can travel, you know, you'll see me probably in your inbox to contact you to do an interview. This would be my second attempt to do this because the first try didn't go out so well. So hopefully you guys like it. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I guess let me get my part out of the way and done for the second time because I didn't like it the first time. All right, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? So I don't know if I've shown myself in past videos, but here I am now. Now you guys know how I really look like. I think I was on one of my videos for just a little bit. I just don't like to get in front of the camera. That's just the way I am. But yeah. So this goes towards what I wanted to do with the channel. This is what I kind of want to do in the summer. Just pretty much interviewing people. So hopefully you guys like it, like I was saying. So my name is Jonathan Tavera. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I drive a 95 Dodge Dakota pickup lowrider. Even though it's a truck, it's a pickup, to me it's a lowrider. People like to categorize it as a mini truck. To me, this is not a mini truck. You know, that's just me. It's not a mini truck. It has hydros and it has wires. You know, that's just me. And I am the founder of Outbreak Car Club. I started it back in November of 2012. I wanted to be a really badass car club. I wanted to cover any and every category of vehicles out there, you know, to imports, lowriders, and you name it. Maybe even 4x4s as well. When I started the club, it was just a couple of lowrider bikes, and a lot of imports. And for our first summer out, which would have been 2013, the summer of 2013, we did great. You know, we always showed up as a big pack. But shortly after that, me and those other guys, we would pretty much bump heads. So it wasn't a real good combination, you can say, because I wanted to go everywhere. I wanted not just do shows. I wanted it to be about, you know, going to the tracks, just grow the car club name. But you know, I quickly, you know, figured it out that that's not really possible with other types of categories of, you know, of rides in a car club. So I knocked it down to just lowriders, mini trucks, you know, and anything lowrider related. So right now I got a few chapters here in Oregon, and then I got a chapter on the East Coast in Rhode Island, and those guys are always killing it. The rides are clean, you know, and what I look for in members is, you know, family, because that's what this car club is. I'm not out there to look for quantity. I'm here to look for quality and family type of people. That's just me. Because when I started the club, it was kind of about quantity. And it felt good, don't get me wrong, it felt good going to the car shows, taking a few awards of, you know, the biggest club participation awards, you know. But, you know, that made me realize what kind of members I really do want in my club. But yeah, that's where we're at now with my stuff. So, and I plan to grow the club as much as I can. You know, we're a drama-free car club. You know, we don't let that stuff slide. We don't tolerate it. So that's just us. Like, I can pretty much say that we're a true family oriented car club, more than those other big car clubs out there. Nothing against them. I don't hate anybody, but it's always going to be drama at the car shows and between car clubs. But I'm here to hopefully change that. Lowrider magazine stopped coming to Portland, Oregon. I don't know the real reason, but the reason I've always heard was that after the car show or during the car show, the Lowrider magazine won, gang-related fights would happen. So that's what I think kind of killed it here. And after Lowrider magazine stopped coming, it probably took a couple more years after that for people to start coming out, you know, of the garages and going to car shows and making car shows. And there used to do other car clubs way before I even knew what a lowrider was. I heard there was a lot of car shows here in Portland, and it was popping of lowriders everywhere. But that all of a sudden stopped. People don't do car shows here in Portland. As of last year, I hosted my very first car show. I got my feet wet. It was a little nerve-wracking, you know, and it was a pretty big turnout for my first show. You know, and I'm very grateful for everybody that showed up and showed support, because I'm here to change lowriding here in Portland. I'm here to bring it back to Portland. I'm not gonna go outside the city and do a car show. I'm gonna do it here, because that's just me. Lowriding for some reason left Portland, you know, the car shows, and I'm here to bring it back. You know, and there's a lot of good lowriders out there that always, you know, hit me up and, hey, let's go cruise. Well, if I can, then I go. And they're from other car clubs. So I'm doing what I can to show up to their invites of cruising and stuff like that, you know. And then I host a cruise every summer, at the end of the summer. Pretty much it's right before Labor Day in September. I believe it's Labor Day. But you know, and then I did another car show here, right in Portland, technically, Southeast Portland, and it was a fundraiser for a school. So my future car shows are going to be more about helping the community or helping some kind of organization, helping their funding. So that's what I plan on doing with our car shows, with any proceeds that we get. So the reason why I picked this as my lowrider is because, well, I like trucks, and it's unique. There's only a handful of Dodge Dakotas as a lowrider in the U.S. Just a handful. I can only name 3 or 4 right now on the top of my head. There's a few first gens like this, and then there's one second gen that I know of here in the U.S. So pretty much these trucks are unique, you know. Nobody really does these types of trucks. Mainly you see as lowrider / mini trucks would be the most common ones, would be, you know, the Toyotas, the Mazdas, and the Isuzus, and some other ones I probably forgot. But this is why I picked it. It's unique. I like the body style. You know, it's smooth. It's not too boxy. That's why I like it. And believe it or not, my very first vehicle after getting my license at 16. My first vehicle at 16 was a 95 Dodge Dakota. The stock color was blue. And my very first vehicle, I turned it into my very first lowrider. A little bit of a backstory of me going into lowriders. When I found out about lowriders, I was maybe 11 years old. I was at home watching Saturday morning cartoons, and I think it was a Pop-Tart commercial that came on TV. I think it was a Pop-Tart commercial, but there was like the street just filled up with these incredible looking bikes. I didn't know what they were called, so next time I saw one of my best friends that I grew up with in Portland, Southeast Portland, I asked him, and I showed him what I was talking about, and when I pointed it out, he's like, yeah, that's a lowrider bike. I was like, really? Because I really like that. You know, they look cool. And it's like, yeah, but do you know that they also make lowrider cars and stuff like that? Really? He's like, yeah. And he showed me on the internet what a lowrider was, and right there, I became in love with lowriders ever since. You know, seeing all the trucks, the classics, the G-bodies, caddies, and you know, done up as a lowrider. So I've loved lowriders ever since I was 11. Going back to my first car and my first build, I probably didn't start building it until I was 19, I believe. No, it must have been when I was about 20, 21. Because I finished it in spring of 2013. And it took me a few years to build my first ride. I did it all self-taught. And the reason for that was because when I try to ask for help, people wouldn't help me, no matter who I asked, even though they were good friends with me. They would just give me the finger, or they would have told me, like, hey, just bring it by and I'll do it. It's like, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to build my own. I ended up paying somebody to do my first rack. Unfortunately, when I actually started breaking down my first truck to build it into a lowrider, that rack that I paid for broke apart very easily. You know, I never put a battery or a pump on there. It just broke apart. So after that, I was more determined to mainly do the truck by myself. So I bought a welder, and believe it or not, it was a Harbor Freight welder. What was it, a 110, you know, with .30 MIG wire in it. My welds were terrible. They were very terrible. They looked like bubble gum with the little beads on them. That's how terrible they were. If I can find a picture, I'll post it up here in the video. But they were terrible. But it held up. The truck held up, and I built it by myself. I had a good friend help me do some cutting, but that's pretty much it. I wired the hydros, I plumbed the hydros, I figured out the wiring on my own, you know, and it's just from hours and hours, days and weeks, just going over wiring, because I didn't want to fry my setup, my very first setup. So I did, and it probably took about a good 2-3 years once I parked it in my garage. And I used to live in these apartments right outside of Portland, which would have been Clackamas, technically Clackamas. And you know, and when I was done, or even just being done with the front end or the rear end, you know, cylinders, I was happy. I would take the truck out and just cruise it around my apartments and just you know, drive it around and get that good feeling like I did this. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it took 3 years to build it, but I was happy with it at the end. So, but what some people don't know, my very first lowrider, once I was done building it, I only enjoyed it for 2.5, 3 months. After my first year of taking out my first lowrider, I was getting ready to go out to a car club picnic to celebrate our first summer out. When I was going to load it up, I noticed my truck was gone, and I had to park it outside because at the apartments that I was living at the moment, they decided to tear down all the garages, and at the time I wasn't making that much money, so I couldn't afford to install an alarm on it. But I liked the area, so I trusted the area to where nothing would happen to my truck, because you know, my truck wasn't parked in a garage for almost a month before it was gone. So someone stole it overnight, and that feeling that I had, I can't explain it. You know, just my heart dropped. You know, and I went out looking for it, going into the bad neighborhoods of Portland, hoping to find it. Never did. So after a week of going after work, searching for it, never found it. So a month later, I get a call coming home from work from the sheriff department of where I live. They said that they found the truck. And when they found the truck, I was hoping that it was at least drivable. I was hoping that I can just bring my stock wheels over, slap them on, and drive the truck away. But that wasn't the case. When I got there, the front end, on the frame from the firewall was detached from the rest of the truck. The bumper, the motor were just laying on the ground. The bed was chopped up and smashed in. The canopy that it had at the time, they removed it somewhat clean, you know. The canopy was kind of bent, so I had to bend it back. So luckily that was in good condition as well. But everything else was gone. And when I showed up to the scene, I was devastated. Because when I showed up, the tow truck driver and another police guy were dragging my parts across the driveway onto the tow truck. That same night, the officer let me search the house of where it was found, and I was able to find my front 2 cylinders and my front 2 aftermarket springs. I believe they were 3.25 ton springs. So I mean, that's pretty much all that really lasted off of my first truck. Nothing else was salvageable. The truck was filled with garbage. It was filled with feces and needles. At the time, I had a good coworker where he let me store the chopped up truck and let me take off whatever parts I could use, you know, but I wasn't really into it. I just wanted to get rid of it because I had nowhere to put parts. I didn't have a garage. So all I did was keep the cylinders. Everything else was trash. Insurance didn't cover anything because I couldn't afford anything besides liability at the time. So when the truck was gone, I never thought that I was gonna go back into lowriding. So what I did, I sold a lot of my tools. I sold my welder, and I just thought I'm not gonna build another one because I didn't want it to happen to me again. So that was it. It must have been a year and a half later where I came upon a maroon colored 93 Dodge Dakota, which was this one. I found it on Craigslist and I liked it. Even though the bumpers were colored the same paint as the rest of the body, I wanted to get it. And it was a decent price, so I picked it up. I didn't think that I was gonna turn that one into a lowrider, but I did, obviously. I started going to car shows. My club members were talking to me like, hey, we feel for you, but you need a lowrider. And they were right. So I started building it little by little. And believe it or not, every winter I upgrade it. I always take it apart and upgrade something, make it better. You know, always making it better. My truck, my first lowrider that I built had brand new chrome CCE competition pumps. Back then, that's what a lot of people wanted, you know. But this one has a high-low elite performance piston pump. And then I have some Frankenstein pumps that I put together, random parts, but it looks very clean in the back of the truck. So I'm, you know, after getting my first lowrider stolen, I never thought I was gonna get another one. You know, even till this day, I think, you know, I'm always thinking, who has my wheels? Who has my setup? There's no way of telling. It's not like I engraved my initials in it. So, I mean, I think about it a lot because it was my first ride. It was my first build, and I did it on my own. And I did this on my own as well. And this is why I started Lolo's and More. I wanted to give people my knowledge. I wanted to tell, you know, help people, let people know what I know, and hopefully they can learn from that. Because there's things that can be done differently. Don't get me wrong, it can be done differently, but I want to show you the way I do it. You know, this is what my channel is all about, helping you guys and doing what I can to help out the lowrider community. So this truck is going to be receiving quite a few upgrades. I'm in the middle of reinforcing a spare frame that I have right now at work. I'm going to completely wrap that frame, and I'm going to completely remodify the front suspension to where it can take a beating, because I want it to be a little street hopper, you know, at least hit bumper on it. You know, this one only has minor reinforcements at the moment. You know, I'm rolling on China's 13s. They don't look like 13s because of the tires that I got. You know, anything smaller than the tire size that I do now, I'll be going through tires every weekend, and I don't want to do that. So that's why it kind of looks like if I'm rolling on 14s, but these are 13s. Always keeping it on 13s, even though I got to roll on bigger tires. There's always big plans to this truck. So to me, this truck build is never going to stop. I did the patterns on the truck myself, self-taught as well, and you know, a little bit of looking on YouTube. You know, everybody know YouTube it's a university, right? So I did my own patterns, and the thing about doing patterns, it's kind of hard to come up with your own your own design is the hard part. And when people started asking me, some friends started asking me, will you do patterns for me? I said, yeah, but you know what? I'm not that creative. It took me a while to design what I have now. It's a process to do patterns. And people that know me, they know whatever I do to this truck, I'll learn it myself, and then I do it myself. I know there's people out there that want to help, but it's more of a thing to where I just want to do it myself. And I know there's a lot of you out there as well want to do things yourself. So this is why I started the channel. You guys will be seeing more of me in the future. I like to stay behind the camera. And I hope you like these kind of videos. I'll be doing more just like this. So hope you guys liked it. I'm Jonathan Tavera from Portland, Oregon, and this is my Lowrider Story.